Hello YouTube. This is the Gentleman Scholar. Housekeeping. And my little poker here, I believe it's a poker. Keep it going. I am smoking a combination of Sutliff cream brulee and chocolate mousse mixed together by Pappy, who I keep saying should do his own YouTube channel, but he won't because he doesn't think he has anything to say. He'll have something to say. I'm probably going to have to get my lighter out for this. But anyway, I just wanted to say hello. And I also wanted to welcome back a real gentleman scholar, the LA Piper. Excuse me. Todd, the LA Piper. He hasn't posted for 10 months, and I kind of have a soft spot in my heart for Todd because once upon a time, I was walking along in Missoula, Montana on a layover for my job with the airline. And I was looking for a local comic store. And I tracked it down with my smartphone, so I'm trudging through the fields, and I decided to do a live remote just for the hell of it. And he was one of the first people to answer. And, I eventually found the place. But yeah, ever since LA Piper has had a soft spot in my heart. And he would post occasionally. And it was always good to see him. Very learned man. He was a college professor, I believe. He's now since retired. And he's enjoying his retirement. And he also writes. He writes essays and poetry. And while we're on the subject of writing, I wanted to mention that something I try to do regularly. Anyway, I just want to say it's very great to have him back, and I hope he posts regularly. Writing is a very powerful thing. I do a lot of it myself. I don't think I'll ever be a published author or anything, but I do try to write every day. I have not been having a great deal of luck keeping my pipe lit of late. But anyway, I've been doing gravity packing. Obviously, it's not a method that's working for me. Pardon me. I try to write every day in blocks of 20 minutes, 40 minutes, and 60 minutes. I start at 20. If I like what I'm writing, I go to 40. And if I really like what I'm writing, I go up to 60 minutes. I just use my smartphone and I time myself 20-minute intervals and just write. I also write a lot of letters. Some of you out there know that already. Also I also keep a journal, which I write semi-regularly in. My point being is that writing, it activates something up here, something almost magical, something almost, it's hard to explain. Being creative, writing with a creative aim in mind just activates something that I would almost call magical in your brain. And it's something I don't think we do often enough, to be honest. And of course, writers mention their profession and it's like, well, have you written something I might have possibly read or whatever? You know, it's How much is your writing worth, in other words? But anyway, writing for the sake of writing is a way to keep you sane. I learned this from, and I tried to find the book so I could present it to you, but I learned this from author Natalie Goldberg. I'll put this in the little box at the end, but Natalie Goldberg and her book, she's written many books, but this one is called Writing Down the Bones. Natalie Goldberg, Writing Down the Bones. And the most important thing she taught me is that she gave me permission to write badly. Just write, 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 write. Don't even cross things out. Just write, write, write. Give yourself a time limit. Just dump out whatever in your head onto the paper. Just write, 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 write. You can always use it later for whatever you want to use it for, like whether it's a novel or a poem or what have you. But just get it out of your head. The act of writing activates that magic in your head. And I'm using the word magic. She didn't. It's for lack of a better word, I guess. And it's better than therapy, I think. Whether it's you're just in a shitty mood and you don't know, you just want to have to get it out, you just write it down. You're the only one who's ever going to see it, if you want to. Just every single negative thought you've ever had, just unfiltered. You just dump it out. It does make you feel better. It also helps you put your feelings into perspective too. So writing also has that benefit. Natalie Goldberg, Writing Down the Bones. Nice tobacco. Thank you, Pappy. Just glad I can keep it lit. It's one of the first pipes I ever bought. As you can see on the other hand, I kind of cracked it when my big gorilla hands tried to fit the stem back in. But it still works, so I'm still using it. But as to writing and how powerful it can be, I follow a writer called Grant Morrison. He's big into he's written this new novel called Luda about a drag queen in Glasgow, which I will pick up eventually and read. But he's written many comics, and my favorite comic that he's ever written is probably his grand epic symphonic epic called The Invisibles. Now The Invisibles, I won't try to. It's about everything, really. But it's basically the forces of conformity versus the forces of control and conformity versus the forces of anarchy, real anarchy, and freedom. Complete creativity of thought. I won't say any more than that because I'll just disappear down a rabbit hole trying to describe it to you. But it's a difficult read, but well worth it. It's a comic book that counts as literature. But anyhow, I'll just put it this way: in one. Keep it lit. Pardon me. In one particular scene in the comic he's writing, his wish fulfillment character, King Mob, it's the one he identified most with. He was writing really hard. He was pouring everything he had into this thing. And his main character is being tortured. I won't say how, because it's not really important. But anyway, his face was getting affected in the course of the book. And guess what? In real life, Grant Morrison was being affected in a similar way. He had some sort of virus, a flesh-eating virus, back in the 90s. That was eating his face off. He had an abscess and a virus, and he didn't know how sick he was, but his position was this: if you write hard enough, and if you write with enough intent and energy, whatever you write in that, it's almost like a voodoo doll. Whatever you write in that smaller universe that you're creating will also happen in real life. And he was doing it to himself. Of course, luckily, by the grace of God or whatever beings he worships, he considers himself a magician, and he's either insane or he's a genius. He could possibly be both. But he lived enough to be able to finish his grand epic, and I'm glad he did. But he taught me that writing is more than just words on paper. Writing is almost an act of magic, an act of creativity, and he examines it quite a bit in his in his other works. He took over Animal Man. He used to work for a lot of British comics, but he took over for Animal Man once upon a time. A forgotten character in DC lore until he made him, marketable again. Hip, popular, edgy. Hate that word, edgy. And during his arc, it was about 26 issues, he had the character of Animal Man actually meet him, the writer, and they had this conversation about writing, and you don't control my life. He goes, I control all of your life. I write your life. And he had many, many interesting things to say about the creative process. I remember, for example, he's taking this monkey through this snowfield, this monkey that was typing out the works of Shakespeare. It's this dead monkey he's walking through and ends up in limbo. Animal Man's like, he runs into Mr. Freeze, the old Batman villain. He could play in the DC universe, so there's Mr. Freeze, and Mr. Freeze bitching at him going, this is ridiculous. I'm one of Batman's greatest enemies. What the hell am I doing here in limbo? And some other forgotten characters are telling Buddy / Animal Man, Buddy Baker, he goes, we remember when this is limbo. We're stuck in limbo until someone writes us out. We remember when you were in here too. What do you mean I was in here too? I was never in here. He goes, yes, you were. You just don't remember. But your writer wrote you out of here, so now you have no memory of this place. But that stuff has always stuck with me. It's always fired my imagination. And that's how powerful writing can be. And it doesn't matter if you're writing this schlocky nostalgic poem, which I did back in college. I needed that $50, so I entered this contest to write a poem for yearbook, and it was the schmaltziest, treacliest, friendship, the people we meet along the way, blah 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 blah. So I needed that $50. So I just piled on what I guess they wanted to read. Okay, granted, I didn't win the $50, but I did. It was good enough, apparently, even though I thought it was crap. It was good enough to win second prize, which was a copy of that year's yearbook. It wasn't the year that I was graduating, but I still won it, and I spent 5 minutes scribbling that poem out. I'm not saying I'm a kind of a genius or anything, but I'm saying that writing has power. Writing, you arrange the words together, and it makes people feel a certain way. And I'm just glad it was good enough to get me a free yearbook. Anyway, I'm going on 13 minutes now. That's kind of a little longer than I would have planned. But anyway, I just wanted to say hello. Welcome back to the LA Piper. I also want to say to Andy Scotch Pie, he was kind of once a pipe presenter. He used to do vape pipes, but now he does his own brewing channel, his own beer brewing channel. I noticed a little TARDIS, a little police box in the back corner, which means he's a Doctor Who fan, because that's what the Doctor drives around. He drives a vehicle around that can look like its surroundings, but his is stuck in the shape of a early 1960s police box. So I told him I noticed that. He tells me he has a 13-foot scarf, just like Tom Baker, the Fourth Doctor, did. I said, so do I, except I also have a longer one, a 20-foot scarf that Purple and Burger they used to wear in his last season. So I've got to always display my Doctor Who geek credentials. Anyway, going on 14 minutes. That's all, folks. I'm going to go take a shower and do some writing myself. All the best to you. Cheers.